I was born with eczema and had a cow's milk protein allergy, had quite a severe anaphylactic shock when I was a baby, which kind of sparked this childhood of eczema and gut health problems and having IBS, and eventually kind of leading towards overuse of steroid creams more throughout my later teen years, and then developed into a condition called topical steroid addiction.
Today we have the amazing delight to be speaking to Imogen Tingay. Imogen is a dietitian who, after an array of health conditions as a child and young adult, she took it all into her own hands, got it all under control, and now she helps other people in a similar situation. Imogen's story is a fantastic one of where something that happened in her life has sculpted what happened next. Before we get going, as always though, please do come and join in with the Yellow Tuxedo and Digital Circus Live fun. Like, subscribe, comment, or check out the link below to join our newsletter. Imogen, thank you so much for joining us today on Digital Circus Life, the small business podcast.
Very enthusiastic.
I know, I am at the moment. But we have to start at the beginning in this conversation. We need to know, what is it that you are trying to achieve right now?
Well, I'm trying to achieve overall well-being for lots of people, I think, which I know is a very, very, very broad, a broad thing to try and achieve. So I work privately with clients concerning their nutrition for various different things, primarily skin conditions and gut health, and all those things. I'm a registered dietitian, so that's what I do.
Now, usually what I would ask now is something like, how does that balance with your personal life? But knowing what we know about you, we know it balances perfectly with your personal life, which we will come to, I imagine, at some point in the conversation.
Yeah.
But why, and this is genuinely a trending theme in these podcast episodes, but why that desire to help as many people as possible?
I think it comes from a personal experience, which, as you mentioned, we'll probably touch on later. And I think because the personal experience that I had is very relatable to a lot of people, not necessarily because they had the same condition, but I think in this day and age, we rely more on ourselves and our own kind of decisions to make healthy choices instead of kind of going to the doctor necessarily, and going down that kind of more traditional medicine route. So I think a lot of people find what I say online and my experience quite relatable.
So for the benefit of anyone listening and not watching,
yeah, we can't gloss over it anymore.
There was a slight little smirk there, as you said, going to the traditional route there. So tell us, we will touch upon your experience there, Imogen. So what has led you to becoming a dietitian? What is your personal experience?
Yeah, what happened?
Yes, so
what happened?
It all starts when I was born, really. So I was
There's a birth.
Blimey, we're starting at the beginning. Emily told me off for going back to 10 years old recently. We're going back to birth.
Yeah, my whole life has been leading up to this point, being on this podcast. So I was born with eczema. And had a cow's milk protein allergy, had quite a severe shock, anaphylactic shock when I was a baby, which kind of sparked this childhood of eczema and gut health problems and having IBS, and eventually kind of leading towards overuse of steroid creams. And I had all these allergies as well, so I was allergic to peanuts, to cow's milk, obviously, and animals, dust, dander, all these different things, and it was all kind of creating a big picture of unwellness as a child. So I quickly became kind of reliant on steroid creams more throughout my later teen years. I think my mum did really well at trying to manage on her own without a lot of steroid usage. But then as soon as I moved out of home at 18, I was like, oh, this is a quick fix, and went to the doctors and started using steroid creams. Which very quickly kind of snowballed into the more potent ones, and then it kind of developed into a condition called topical steroid addiction, which is something that's not really well known nowadays. I think it's gaining a lot more traction, thankfully, but doctors don't really recognise it, and what happens is your body becomes reliant on the steroid creams, So when you stop using them, you go through a withdrawal process, which can be very, very harsh, and it's kind of years long. So that's what I went through in my early 20s.
Wow.
And that kind of sent me down the route of looking into holistic medicine and using food and exercise and wellness and all these things for myself, rather than going to the doctor and then prescribing me more steroid creams or other medication, which I think that really is kind of the first line advice that they give, unfortunately. And it's not necessarily their fault, that they only get kind of 10 minutes with you at most in a GP's office, and you want the quick fix, they want to give you a quick fix, and it just happens that steroid creams do give that. So it's just the long-term usage that can be quite troublesome.
Wow.
But yeah, so I kind of went down the route of wellness, and then I was made redundant from my job that I was doing, and so I thought, well, this is actually the perfect opportunity to kind of use my newfound knowledge and passion for good use. So I went back to college for a year, and then I went to university for 4 years and studied to be a registered dietitian. And now so I set up my private business before I'd even graduated, and went straight into it. So yeah.
And was going private as owning your own business always the plan in terms of that? Because a lot of people would qualify and then go and work for someone like the NHS or another organisation. Did you always want to work for yourself?
Yes, yeah, that's really been the ultimate goal, really, the end goal. I do work for the NHS as well, so I am a paediatric dietitian. Obviously, I need a stable income as well, so yeah, but really the passion is to work privately, and to have that kind of work-life balance and have more time with clients as well. We all know the NHS waiting lists are huge, so this just enables me to give clients the support that they need, really.
This is unbelievable, isn't it? And there's so much we could go for, so you don't want to go to the doctor. If you do want to go, well, but why do you not want to go is another question in there. When you do go, it's a nightmare to get in. And when you get in, and like I say, this is no reflection on the individuals. This definitely feels like more of a system issue than a person issue. And then when you do get in, they've only got 10 minutes and you want a diagnosis because you've been waiting weeks to get in after waiting weeks to decide whether you want to get in. And then they're giving you an answer. And then we've got this kind of other challenge, I think, that happens at the moment of living in a more connected world where knowledge is more freely available, which has its amazing kind of side, but also has the challenging side of kind of self-diagnosis, which then also leads into this. And my head's about to explode basically on this one.
The thing that resonates with, for us, and that's not in a skin condition route, but our daughter has been seriously ill over the last few years, and exactly that, which every time she has a flare-up or an episode with her condition, the doctor's first line is, let's increase the dosage of her medication. And it's really hard to get, because you understand that the medication does so much for that particular condition, but actually there has to be other things that could be at play there. And exactly what you're saying there in terms of skincare there, or skin conditions there, it's not just the drugs, because the drugs are actually, as you've just said, causing half of the issue. They're prescribing that, but not knowing about the long-term side effects of what that could be. But yeah, your health, your diet, your sleep, your water intake, all of that has to come into play.
Yeah. Right. So I've got two questions, Imogen. One's a bit flippant, facetious, a bit like Alan, and the next one's a bit more serious. Okay. So the first question is, with all of that going on as a child, all of those allergies, what could you do? Were you one of those kids in the all-in-one romper suit with a mask on when they went outside? Nothing wrong with that, but just
you've got an image now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got an image. So that's my first question. What could you do as a childhood? And my second question is, you said you kind of looked towards the more holistic stuff and diet and everything else. How has that worked for you? I don't know. So if we could go with the stupid question first and then the serious one, please.
Yeah, well, I luckily or unluckily, I don't know, I'm very stubborn, and I fell in love with animals as soon as I saw them. So although I kind of blew up facially with hives and itchy and all this when I was near them, I still begged to go to Bockett's farm every weekend or to have a puppy and all this stuff. So I'd surrounded myself with the things that I shouldn't.
And sorry, before we move on, so there's that thing, isn't there? I don't. You'll know the technical stuff. Apologies, but like if you've got a peanut allergy, you slowly introduce peanut, and it can kind of solve the allergy. Did the exposure to the animals kind of change anything with you? Did it, or did you just have the full-on allergy? So every time you saw them, you blew up.
I'm seeing a big red face.
No, I know. I'm trying not to have like a kind of comedy swollen anaphylactic lips. You know, Hollywood's got a lot to answer for here.
Yes, well, that's the thing. There are different types of allergy. So with the peanuts and things, it was more severe when I was younger. But as you said, the kind of the guidance nowadays is to introduce them slowly, keep on trying, and eventually what's common is a lot of children, because their immune system strengthens, they react less to the allergen. So that's what happened with me with peanuts and cow's milk protein as well. Excuse me. So, but with the animals, it was pretty consistent. I would react. So it rarely got better. I mean, I was worse with some animals. So I was worse with rabbits and horses, even though I had horse riding lessons every week, and all these things. I just basically managed it with antihistamines and, all the other, or you could say holistic side of things. So having a shower as soon as I got home and just, managing it as best I could. And then eventually in my early 20s, I kind of got better. And then actually when I went through topical steroid withdrawal, after that, I reacted a lot less to animals, and I was able to get my own horse, and I was able to work at stables and surround myself a bit more with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Sorry. This is genuinely serious stuff. Thank you for sharing it with us, and I'm genuinely interested. So then, how did the kind of management from the topical steroid, etc., withdrawal to today? How's it all nowadays? And then we get onto some businessy stuff in a bit, But
So when did I stop? Withdrawal was till 2018. Since then I hadn't had any eczema at all, and all my allergies were practically gone. So I was just kind of living a very conscious life, I would say. So eating very healthily, the standard fruits and veg and fiber and all the rest of it, and exercise and getting outside, and just kind of trying to live a well life. But I wouldn't say that I was trying too hard. Like it felt very easy. I was just living normally. And then annoyingly, last summer I caught COVID. I think it was COVID, or it might have been flu or something. And I think my immune system took such a hit that my eczema's now come back, which is a bit of a kick in the gut. But it's fine. It's I'm managing it how I would manage a client, which is quite funny. So I'm actually practicing what I preach, which is good.
That is good. And is there a tipping point which if it hadn't have happened, you'd still have the allergies, the eczema, the steroid cream usage, and everything else?
Yes, I think if I hadn't. So the tipping point for me was going into the doctor's office, and I'd worked my way up through all the potencies of steroid creams, and he said, well, we need to put you on an oral steroid, so prednisone, which is a tablet, which is kind of the next step up. And I just thought, no, these aren't working.
Where does it end?
Like my skin was worse than ever, and I couldn't get through a day without applying multiple layers of steroid cream, and it felt so backwards and unnatural. So that was kind of the day I decided to throw them all in the bin. And I think if I hadn't done that, I would definitely, I don't know what state my health would be in at the moment. I'd be very unhappy. I know that for sure.
Yes, I make these facetious comments and questions, but I'm actually genuinely very passionate about what you're talking about. I'm as a man, I don't wish to take a drug to solve things anyway in a more traditional sense, but I'm very big on the holistic. And we don't mean holistic in woo-woo, we mean holistic in all aspects of your life.
Yes.
Yeah, and especially with our daughter, as Emily said, very, very keen. And actually, we've got Vicky Live Fit now. I can never remember her surname.
Brown.
It's Vicky Live Fit. Vicky Brown in the Digital Circus, who shared a similar story in her podcast episode. And we've got in theory, a new member, I've put it out there now, coming on board soon, who I know is also in a similar world, who shares their story and now helps other people in all slightly different variations, not slightly different, all very different, but with a similar background, if that makes sense. But it's unbelievable. I think the kind of Emily's. I'm
just listening to you.
Oh, can't do physical violence against your other half.
Bringing it back to the business side of it, and so you're just about to complete your first year of IT dietetics, dietetics.
Yes, dietetics.
Yes. It's a really difficult word. Every time I look at it,
I've changed it now.
Yeah, we know that. We know that, Emily. It's the nutritionist.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should do my due diligence, unlike Alan, who has all the notes. So tell me, first year of business, how has it gone?
Overall, fantastic. I mean, I'm surprised anyone wants to come and see me, which sounds so stupid, but no, it's such a pleasure and a privilege to be able to work with people and to connect with people and help them through whatever issues that they're having. And I've had a good kind of handful of clients, which is perfect. And some stay for a month or some stay for 4 months, and each one I've been able to help in some way or another, which has just been so fantastic. And I think it's so exciting to know what different avenues I can go down as well. And I can work with different companies, or I can work write an ebook or something, or a recipe book, and it's very exciting. It's really great.
So you're in the early stages. Obviously, you're a newbie to business with your 1 year under your hat. Where do you see the business developing and growing to?
Well, I would like to I'm going to put out more programs and have kind of more of those structures, so more self-paced things that people can do at home. Obviously, working within the NHS, my life is quite busy. My time to see private clients is getting smaller, so in order to still help people, it's all going to be kind of more self-paced and things people can do in their own time, which I think suits others a lot more. I want to specialise in allergies as well at some point, so I need to do my NHS training to be able to do that, but that is the end goal for me. And working with children who have allergies and adults and everyone.
So there's a question that is very topical in the kind of parental circles that we're in. Is actually okay. Perception is that there is a lot more children with allergies nowadays than there was when I was a young lad and all that jazz. Is there any kind of thoughts or reasoning behind that in a kind of scientific way?
Yes, so that is true. The prevalence of allergies is increasing. There are a number of theories, I think, about why this could happen. So obviously COVID is a big factor, just in terms of people staying inside. So we're not kind of exposed to the outdoors as much. I think that's a general thing that's happening nowadays anyway with kids. I think kids aren't going outdoors as much as they were. So they're not being exposed to things like pollen and just other allergens in the air as much that would kind of build up a tolerance over time. And I think generally the way that we're eating, the way that we're living, we're kind of more sedentary, we're not doing as much exercise. And I think kids are probably eating worse nowadays than they ever have. We've got quite a big obesity problem in this country. And it all paints a picture of health. And, allergies are because of an immune reaction. So if our immune system is poor, we're more likely to react to things. So it's just a couple of theories on that, but it's definitely increasing, unfortunately.
Go on. Yeah, go on.
That's two in a studio together. We both have so many things to ask about. So, Mike, I'm curious to going back to that kind of little bit of friction there between the doctor route versus dietitian route and general awareness, I suppose, because not everyone would be aware of those other opportunities and other avenues to go down there. with your business and yourself as a platform, because what you're clearly doing in abundance and doing so well is that you are an advocate for this methodology, because you've been there and done that, and you are living
proof in the pudding.
It is proof in the pudding that it clearly works.
Yeah.
How do you see I use social media? I love following you on social media. I was just following you before we literally hit record on today. How can you see that social platform there being allowing you that voice to spread the word a bit more?
Yes, yeah. So I think more people are turning towards social media now, aren't they, for their kind of their health advice and things like that, because it's there right in front of you. You don't have to wait for a doctor's appointment and things. But for registered dietitians specifically, although we're obviously tied into the NHS and we have to abide by the rules, so we always promote advice that has been proven or has a lot of scientific backup behind it. So if you are looking for your nutrition advice online, always try and follow a registered dietitian or a registered nutritionist as well, because they're going to be kind of giving you the proper advice. And there's so many different fads online that I see every single day, and people pushing a lot of agendas too. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important to find someone who aligns with what you believe and how you want to live your life and eat and all these things, but just be wary of people that might be pushing an opinion rather than a fact, I think.
I think that's really important, because I love TikTok. Like it's probably my go-to platform for my own personal consumption.
That's what he watches before bed.
It is. Well, that and YouTube, and I like it because the TikTok works for me very quickly. You know, scrolling through, and but in amongst the noise, I have to decipher what is noise and what is fact. And just because someone's kind of presenting themselves well, still doesn't mean it's fact. And you can see where social media can get a bad name, because it's not kind of audited or checked off before it's released. But also, it is also an amazing access to some fantastic, look at the stuff you put out, amazing stuff that, you can have access to if you're finding the right people. So if anything, is a reminder to do your due diligence, isn't it? Do your due diligence and fact check always.
I agree. So do you see yourself as that kind of that? I hate using personal brand here, but because of you have had that life experience, are you quite comfortable putting yourself front and center with that in the business?
It comes and goes, I think. Sometimes although I've been told I come across very well in videos that I record, there are about 12 bloopers that haven't been uploaded, obviously. So I think it's important for me to do that and to put my face out there, because my whole experience has been about skin, and I think it makes me more relatable as well, obviously, and especially because I'll be working with clients. They want to know who they're talking to. So yes, I do think it is really important for me to do that, although I don't find it the most comfortable. But I think I always try and be authentic. I can't be one of these people who reads a script. I just tend to kind of be myself, which I think helps a lot.
So you can do, really, isn't it, in today's world? Just be yourself, and it can go a long way.
But it's also, I appreciate at the moment you've got clear skin at the moment anyway, but to be able to put yourself on camera when you're not feeling your best, or when you are having a bit of a dip in your health there, to be able to do that and be on camera and other people might be feeling the same, that's a massive confidence thing to show other people that it's still okay and that we're all going through things as well.
I think,
Sorry. No, apologies. I didn't wish to interrupt. Carry on. No, sorry.
I think it has been really difficult to have a first eczema flare-up that I've had in about 6 or 7 years, especially because I work with eczema clients. So they're looking for someone who they know is going to make their skin better and help them manage their skin condition. So in my opinion, I felt, well, they're all going to think I'm rubbish and throw me in the bin, and and that's going to be it now. I'm not going to have any clients. But actually, the response I've had from sharing that I too struggle as well, the response I've had has been really supportive, really positive, and again, as you said, it's kind of making me more relatable to people.
Absolutely.
And again, eczema is unfortunately one of these conditions that has no cure. It's something that kind of, there are so many factors that can trigger it and that kind of contribute towards it, that it's kind of obvious that it's going to flare up at some point again.
That's exactly, and what you're showing is there's no magic wand. There are things you can put in place, and there's a clear process in which you can follow. But the fact that it will never ever go away, and the fact you are a real human being, I think that does make you more relatable. And personally, I mean, I'm not one of your clients, but if I was your client, I wouldn't be thinking, "Oh my goodness, she's a fake because
she's failed.
She can't look after."
Because
I think actually what you're showing is in plain sight the process that you follow to turn it around again. And I think that is something that people would aspire more to, because if you can't remove the condition, but you can live with the condition, and putting those clear things in place about eating better, having better sleep, hydrating more, all those things that we all know, but watching you do it yourself is actually a positive, not a negative, I think. As well.
So I want to come back to the business. We've done a role reversal. Normally I stick to talking about life and Emily asks about the business, but now I want to ask about the business. So you currently work for the NHS. You've said that's very full on. We get that. It's the NHS, right? We've had more than enough time there. We always say we don't have sick kids, but we're always in hospital. So they're never ill, but we're always in hospital.
When we go hard.
Yeah, if we're doing it properly. And actually, as a side story, Ben, our middle child, was always ill kind of the first 18 months of his life. I remember pumping Calpol into him, which obviously in hindsight. But the irony being, we lived like our house backed onto a farm and they were out playing in the mud, and we had a fire circle and they were playing in that. And we're building up his immunity, like proper old school way of doing things. And we're like, why is he always ill? But then now, touch wood. Oh, you should never say anything like this. Why would I say this? Touch any wood. Anyway, right. So you work for the NHS. It's very full on. And you have the business, the nutritionist, Emily. What if you have to decide? Is there a point you want to decide? Is there a point, because what's the future look like if you have it mapped out or planned?
So I've actually just been offered another role within the NHS, which is a training role. So I'll basically be doing that for the next couple of years while balancing the business. And then I will hopefully get to a point where I can specialise in allergies and then concentrate solely on the private side of things. That's as far as I've got in my brain at the moment. But do
you sleep?
When do you sleep?
Believe it or not, yes. I go to bed at 9 o'clock, so I make sure I get sleep. It's one of my main things I bang on to my clients about. So sleep's very important.
So okay, then I have a question that's just come into my head now. Going on the balance, and clearly there's a clear game plan, so to speak, in place for the next few years of what you want to do and how you get to that point. How do you then manage both the employed side of it and the business side of it to ensure that by the time you get to your private clients in a few years' time, you haven't drop the ball, so to speak, in terms of making sure that you're staying consistently and showing up and doing what you need to do? How do you balance that?
Yeah, so thankfully I don't have to bring any work home from the hospital. So it is literally just spending the evenings thinking about what I'm going to do for the week in terms of, so I have a lot of online guides and PDF documents and things that people can download. So I'm constantly kind of churning out content for the website. And also just staying in touch with people on social media. That's really my biggest platform, where I connect with people and post kind of educational posts and things like that. So, and I actually find that very easy. I love doing it. I love learning, I love helping people learn. I'm very creative as well. So I love all that side of things. Making things look pretty for Instagram. So for me it's quite easy, really. I mean, it's a hobby as well as a business, really. This is what I live my life by. I think without the personal experience, I think if I hadn't done it all myself, so that it was now routine for me, the things that I'm promoting, I think it would be a lot harder. But because it is authentic and I am speaking of things that I've tried, and I'm not trying to just kind of promote a product that I've I don't know anything about. It's something that I've done myself that I know helps, then it's easier.
Do you think, had you not gone through this, I mean, it's by the by because you did go through it all.
Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. If this hadn't been your path in life with your own condition, what do you think you'd be doing now?
Oh, I don't know really. I think because I was made redundant.
What was that job in before?
No, don't mention them. Never mention them.
Merchandising. So I worked for
that's okay.
Snow and Rock ski wear company.
I was in Snow and Rock at the weekend.
Sorry?
I was in Snow and Rock at the weekend.
Oh, were you? Oh, yeah. I used to work in their head office when it was in Guildford, and then they shut down the head office and moved it to the Cotswolds.
Well, they got bought out by Cotswolds, didn't they? So Cotswolds is based in
right. Boring story alert.
Yeah, but I've got Cotswold stories. Outdoor stuff is actually my life and passion.
Anyway, merchandising.
Merchandising.
So if you'd stayed in merchandising, do you think you'd be loving that still?
No, not at all. I think I kind of fell into it, to be honest. It was a temporary role. So I worked in veterinary surgeries. I was training to be a vet nurse, and I worked in various farms. So it was all animals until
I love
animals.
That.
Snow and Rock merchandising.
I can't touch animals without getting really, really sick. But I'm going to work in a vet surgery and I'm going to work on a farm. I love that. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then that's when it all hit the fan, and my skin kind of erupted, so I had to stop. So I had to listen to my body at that point.
Wow. Well, look, what a story. Before we get to our final question, I'd just like to share a sleep story. So genuinely, I'm on board with everything you say and everything else.
She's like,
I know. Well, no, I didn't know what else to say. Thank you is what I meant to say, I guess. Last night, I slept, are you ready for this? For the first time in however many years, because we have 3 children, stresses from a business. I'm a middle-aged chap who may need to get out of bed frequently in the night. Last night, I slept for 7 hours solidly without waking up or getting out of bed once.
A round of applause.
I genuinely don't know when that last happened. Like over a decade, well over a decade, right? And
how do you feel for it today, darling?
Well, I feel amazing. I think I'm on. I think I'm 100%. And interesting, got a guy I know, Andrea, who once talked about what is it? The euphoria that can come from normality, right? Basically, when your body hits regular normal, because you spend so much time down here, actually it can promote a feeling of amazingness and euphoria. and I kind of feel a bit like that today. I think I could take on the world because I had 7 hours solid sleep.
Before you get to the final question, that's just prompted another question in my head. And I appreciate everything that you teach and you work with your clients and what you impart in your own system as well. Has there been one standout thing, one change that you have made in your life that has made the most dramatic impact on your eczema?
I think for me, and this is a very personal thing, so it's not something that everyone should do, but I broke up with my horrible boyfriend at the time. And I moved back in with my mum, which should have been more stressful, but no, it was really good. So that was kind of removing myself from a very toxic environment. And I think the reduction in stress levels was just so huge that it really was kind of the change that I needed, really.
Wow.
Everyone break up with your horrible boyfriend.
Yeah, you men are all bastards.
I just said and girlfriends.
Oh, well, I was just joining it, and girlfriends. And if you can't say boyfriends and girlfriends, and then not factor other and anyone else, whatever you identify as. Right. Imogen, do you know what, though? That comes under the holistic thing, doesn't it? Like, that's still absolutely on board with all of that.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, we are going to wrap up with the final question. Yours, I feel, may be very different to many others we've asked this. But if you could go back to your younger self,
horrible boyfriend,
I know, and say one thing to them, what would you say? You know, a little arm around the shoulder.
He's a dick. Don't go there.
No, stop bad language. I said a bad word. You don't get to say bad words now. We do no bad words.
I think I would just say, you are fine how you are, and you'll be absolutely fine. And don't compare yourself to your friends, because you will get to where you're supposed to be eventually, I think. I think when I was a kid, I watched all my friends go off to college and university when they were 16, 17, and I failed everything, so I didn't do that. I went straight into employment. And then obviously went back to college when I was 25, 26. So yeah, and here I am, exactly where I'm supposed to be, just a little bit later than some other people.
Oh, congratulations on that, Imogen.
That's
It's absolutely amazing.
The smile is huge if you are listening and not watching. So, right. On that note, thank you so much.
Imogen, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, it's been an absolute privilege chatting to you today and hearing about everything. So, yeah, thank you so much. And you for listening, watching Digital Circus Live podcast. We will see you soon. Thanks. Bye.